Hello and welcome back to the weekly woo from February 16th to February 22nd, 2026. And woo, wow, do we have a week upon us. And so I'm going to try to keep this recording reasonably short or, reasonable because I could talk here for quite some time because we have just kind of a crazy all over the place, busy week. Lots happening, lots going on, and there is plenty to talk about. So we are going to just quickly start in with the weekly shifts and what's going on. So, and I'm going to, in this particular section, I'm going to mention the high energy aspects as well, along with the shifts, because it's kind of crazy, like almost electrically charged this week, okay? So first of all, and I do want to mention that we have been boxed in by Uranus squares for weeks now. And so we are going to see another Sun square Uranus here on Monday the 16th. And again, that's going to be a Mercury trine Jupiter as well. So the Uranus squares, like those are out of the blue chaotic problems, fights, conflict. It's very, very serious issues. And with Uranus, it's unstable, it's unpredictable energy. And again, it can be that out of the blue thing that you just did not see coming. And so that can involve all sorts of things. So it can be revolutionary energy, freedom. It can include air travel, flights, those types of things, airplanes, aircraft, airplane technology. I mean, that list can go on and on. But anyway, all I'm getting at is anytime we have Uranus square, that can be unexpected problems or challenges, okay? Then on the 17th, we have our hybrid eclipse season. Okay, so what do I mean by a hybrid? Hybrid is meaning there's basically two different signs that really are not opposing pairs within a eclipse cycle. And so what does that mean? It means normally we are actually in the health axis, and of course it does take in more than that, but we are currently in the final stages of the Pisces and Virgo eclipse pair. So they're always opposite pairs, okay? So, and that's basically known as a health axis. And that will end in July 2026. And so we are slowly merging into the next pair of opposite signs, which is Aquarius and Leo. Okay? So on the 17th, we are going to have the new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Aquarius at 28 degrees Aquarius. Okay, so that right there, and then we have the closing out, which is going to be the total full moon lunar eclipse is going to be on March 3rd, and that's going to be 12 degrees Virgo. So Aquarius and Virgo are not pairs. That's not a set. That's where we get the hybrid. So, Aquarius belongs with Leo as an opposing sign, and Pisces belongs with Virgo as an opposing sign. So this is where we get our merging in energy, where we're merging into the next set, and we're actually merging out of the old set, right? So it's kind of got that little flavor of each particular opposing sets of signs. So this is kind of where the kickoff begins for the Aquarius-Leo eclipse season, or lunar node pairs are. Okay, so again, on February 17th, new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Aquarius at 28 degrees. So this will technically kick off our full-blown eclipse season, which I like to call bridge season. And bridge season is the day of the eclipse, the first eclipse, to the end of the second eclipse. So it's going to be from February 17th to March 3rd, okay? Then on March 18th, we have the sun entering Pisces. And so when we have the sun entering Pisces, that's going to bring us back to that Pisces stellium, which means we have 3 or more planets in the sign of Pisces, which becomes a real heavy-duty Pisces water energy coming back in. Okay, and so the 20th, now this is a big guy, okay? So we have a very, very, very active month, basically a month ahead. Like, it's kind of crazy with what's going on. But anyway, on the 20th, we will have Saturn and Aries at 0 degrees, conjunct Neptune at 0 degrees in Aries. So what's the significance of this? Well, this was almost unheard of, right? So now we have 2 planets, Saturn and Neptune, entering into the new sign of Aries, right? But they're both sitting at that 0 degree, and that's almost like I'm not going to say chaotic, because that tends to be the 29th, but there's a little bit of the energy that does rub off with that 0. It's a very, very energized, a super active degree. Anytime you see a 29 degree or a 0 degree, it means it's supercharged, okay? And now it just happens that this particular year, Saturn and Neptune actually line up, and they conjunct at that 0 degree of Aries. Now, to what I've been told and my knowledge, this particular combination where they conjunct at the 0 degree has not happened in over 5,000 years. So it's not really been documented. So it's kind of a very special time to experience. None of us have ever experienced this in, in thousands of years. And so this is really, really interesting because this is actually hitting within that eclipse season. So remember, eclipses are about changes, small, medium, large, and usually when eclipse seasons come in, no, it's not just that day and the 2 weeks. It merges in. I allow about 2 months prior merging in, and then the 2-week bridge zone, eclipse to eclipse, and then about 2 months merging out. But anyway, eclipses bring in usually permanent change. Okay, so that affects everybody differently, and we can sit and we can watch this play out on a global scale as well. So usually it eclipses people, places, things, or stuff permanently in or out of life. And therefore it tends to redirect our life path ahead, right? So that is a totally different story for all of us. So you'd have to know where Aries is sitting in your natal chart to see what houses and what content is going to be lit up and very, very activated for you, okay? But long story short is that Saturn conjunct Neptune at 0 degrees Aries, both planets, is hitting in our full-blown eclipse season. And so that's really kind of cool. And I'm just going to let you know that on the 25th or 26th of March, depending on your time zone, we will be having a Mercury retrograde in that full-blown eclipse season as well, that 2-week time zone. So it's just kind of crazy what's going on here. And again, we will still have the impact of those Uranian squares, which is kind of, really, you can really call it crazy energy. Uranus can be crazy, right? It's just the craziest thing or the craziest behaviors or the craziest things that carry out. And, ironically, just referring to the Uranus crazy people behaving crazy behaviors that are just not normal and out of whack or wacky, unstable, right? And so I am from within Canada. And so during these Uranus squares, an example, it's a horrible, horrific example, but the mass school shooting that actually took place in BC, okay, BC, Canada. So horrific and very, very, very tragic. But that is an example of a Uranian or Uranus square, okay? And condolences and sympathies to all those families involved. Horrible, horrible, horrible tragedy. Okay, so carrying on with the astrology, okay? Okay, and so when we have that conjunction on the 20th, and there's actually no aspects on the 21st, so does it slow it down? Not a bit. It's just a day to contemplate and sift and sort through everything that's kind of going on in life. Okay, and so basically, those are major shifts. Those are major things happening this week. Okay, so in our overshadowing larger energies, we have one planet retrograde currently. Next week, we'll have the second one join, right? So our only current planet retrograde is Jupiter retrograde in the sign of Cancer. It likes being in the sign of Cancer. It's exalted in Cancer, which means it's happy. And when we have Jupiter in retrograde status, it really doesn't mean a whole bunch. And in fact, sometimes it can, or lots of times, it will bring back missed opportunities from the time prior, right? And so when it's in Cancer, it's happy there, it operates well, and it's the benefic planet, right? So that's not so serious. And so when we move into, this is again next week, so the next planet joining in to be retrograde again is going to be Mercury, right? That will be retrograding in the sign of Pisces. And at that point, next week, we will have 2 planets retrograde. And something else I do want to mention, which is very rare, very unusual. This whole 2026 year, we will be having Mercury retrograding in all water signs. Can you imagine? That's quite rare, actually. Okay, so that will kind of cover our week. It's very, very busy. We have aspects pretty much happening each day, with the exception of the 21st. It's going to be a very active day, a very busy week, and unexpected things taking place. And we can basically, if this doesn't pertain to you, hopefully it doesn't, not too much on a personal level, because it's upheaval energy, and it's one of those weeks where anything can happen and will happen. It's unpredictable. It's unstable. Okay, so we have eclipse season upon us, and it's being supercharged by Uranus squares, which that is complete chaos, and everything can be completely upside down. And it's then further charged by Saturn conjunct Neptune. Okay, so it's just roll with it as best you can. This whole week also I want to say is, it is all over the place with plans. So your plans are not going to stick. So don't get it in your head where the plans you have in mind today are going to be concreted in, because that's not going to happen. Okay. So every day we have those mild, annoying minor aspects, and those are those little buggers that come along and they just create havoc with our daily plans. And this particular week, you can be looking at plans changing multiple times a day, not just once a day and not just a couple times a week, but it's going to be multiple times a day throughout the whole week. Okay, so we have quintiles, we have squares, we have semi-squares, we have semi-sextiles, sesquiquadrates. That's a pick a fight aspect. So do not engage this week, because that's going to take you no place good. So avoid and walk away if need be. And again, we have biquintiles. Anyway, those are the little suckers that and quintiles. I said biquintiles as well. But anyway, semisextiles, those are the little suckers that just create havoc with the plans. That are annoying, right? Minor hiccups, and we have to rewrite the plan. We have to reconstruct, cancel, reschedule, those kind of things. When these kind of weeks come in, it almost feels like Mercury retrograde, but actually it's not. That's not till next week. So that will add to the pot, right? Okay. And so just be patient, have ultra patience this year, be very, very flexible, be willing to adjust your plans. And if you're one of those too, sometimes the plans you have kind of suck and maybe you're not really that happy about it. So this week can actually be quite beneficial, that if you don't like today's plans or the plans in the next 3 or 4 hours, well, guess what? Plans are probably going to change, and hopefully for the better. So there's that, right? And some people do better with plan changing and altering than others, right? Our mutable signs, they are gifted with that. Our fixed signs, not so much. All right. So something I do want to talk about, and I am going to talk about a little bit more in detail this week because I didn't as much last week, is I want to talk about our hybrid eclipse. Okay, so where I'm going with this is we are slowly getting out of our health axis, that being North Node Pisces, South Node Virgo, which is known as the health axis. And of course, that takes in more than that. So about not only our health, but details and our work and our jobs and all those kind of things, right? Anything that would represent Virgo and Pisces, those kind of things. But anyway, we are slowly getting ready to start working our way out of those two sets. So the end of that Pisces, Virgo eclipse season or nodal axis signs is going to be in July 2026. But right now, like I said, we merge in, we merge out. So right now we're at that hybrid. So we're having a little bit of the new ones coming in. So this is kind of where it opens up the gate and begins to merge in. I usually like to allow, 2 to 3 months, but we're quite a ways ahead of that. But this is where it starts. You start to feel that next set of signs coming in. So the next set of signs is going to be starting in July 2026, and that will be North Node Aquarius, South Node Leo. Okay, so where am I going with this? Why am I talking about this? Because the nodal axis and the eclipse seasons, they hang in there for, well, technically by the book, if you're going to go by the charts, it's about 18 months, but I say about 2 years because, like I said, I allow, that's my opinion as an astrologer, a couple months merging in, the full-blown effect of those two signs, full force and effect, and then when it comes to a completion, it's going to merge out, okay? So it's going to be here from about July 2026 to about March 2028. Okay, so when I have North Node in Aquarius, so North Node means that's a direction we're heading. That's our Dharma. That's what's on our life journey, our path. That's a direction we're going as a future individual. Okay. And of course, that's global too. And the South Node is in Leo. Okay. And so that's where we have the past times. That can be generational karma, that can be past lives, that can be cutting things out of life that no longer belong because that's behind you. Sometimes we have to get rid of those. The biggest thing, in my opinion, is past lessons learned. And this is always applied knowledge forward. Okay. So that's going to be the next set. So like I said, they will be in effect from July 2026 to March 2028. Again, North Node Aquarius, South Node Leo. So I want to tell you to go back into time. And so we'll go back in exactly the North Node Aquarius, South Node Leo, back to when this happened about 18 years ago. Okay, so each complete set is a revolutionary time or a cycle in time of about 18 years and a few days or a few weeks, something like that. It's in that area. So the last time we would have had this particular nodal axis, which is coming in July 2026, was December 2007. and into August of 2009. So remember a little bit on the other. So that would be like about the fall of 2007 to about the fall of 2009. What was going on back then for you? What were you doing? This is not the same storyline, but it will definitely be similar themes, similar topics, similar storylines. And so it won't be the exact story, but those same kind of things will be coming up, but in a different fashion. And I have seen it where if it's you have children and, it's 18 years later, if it's not you, often this can be your children, experiencing the same sort of thing you did way back when. I've seen that play out like that. So think back to that time zone and what was going on and kind of what was taking place. And so sometimes it takes a little bit of time because I hear people say, I can't even remember what the hell I did like a year ago. But take some time and contemplate that. So now I always like to touch base where actually the signs, it was Aquarius, Leo, but they were reversed. Meaning North Node in Leo, South Node in Aquarius. So at this time, it's the same two opposing pairs of zodiac signs, but in reverse order, okay? So that particular time zone would take you back to May 2017 to November 2018. Okay, remember a couple months on each side. So, that would be about, probably, late winter of 2017 to about, like I said, November. That probably would take you into the first few months of 2019, in fact, about that approximate time zone. What was going on for you at that particular time? And so if you think back, that will definitely have a related subjects, topics, themes, those kind of things. Is going to be the same story? No, it's not, but it will be something similar. So those sets of time. So 2007, basically December 2007 to 2009. So fall of 2007 to about the fall of 2009. That's exact same signs. Then we'll jump ahead a few years. The reverse signs was about late winter 2017 into the late winter months of, the early winter months of 2019. So January, February, March, something like that in 2019. So think about those time zones. It's going to be something similar coming up. So it's always interesting to think back and relate back. So, and again, so done with those Aquarius, Leo, opposing signs for eclipse season and nodal axis signs. We're going to jump back to where we are currently, which is our North Node Pisces, South Node Virgo. Okay, and so this particular set of signs is going to end in July 2026, but of course we're merging out, so I would say, allow till about fall of 2026 before we completely are out of that. So, and again, that's the health axis, right? So that particular time would go back to 2006, 2007, 2008, somewhere, early 2008. So think back to that particular time, what was going on, in particular health-wise. I mean, I remember what was going on for me, and I had sort of similar things going on this particular time 18 years later. It wasn't the same story, but it was pretty darn close to the same underlying effects for things going on, what was going on, okay? All right. So that being said, that will end that. So this week, we are going to have an exceptionally busy week. I talked about the eclipses. I talked about the new moon solar eclipse on February 17th, 2026 at 28 degrees Aquarius. And if you do happen to know your birth chart, go see where Aquarius lies at that a 28 degree mark and see if there's something about, around that 30 degree mark, 0 degree mark of Pisces, or down to 26 degrees of Aquarius, because it will impact you. Like that's about a 2 degree allowable orb. So that's about 2 degrees allowable space on each side of 28 degrees. And see where it's sitting, what house is sitting, and see what's going to be activated for you. Okay, and again, I will talk about this later on this week. As of the 18th, we will be welcoming in Pisces season. That means the sun is moving into the sign of Pisces. And at that point, it's going to bring us into stellium energy again, right? We will have the sun, we will have Mercury, we'll have Venus, we will have the North Node sitting in Pisces. So it's very watery, it's exceptionally emotional, very sympathetic, it's very compassionate. It can be timid, and this can also be where a lot of addiction problems can show up again. That's on the negative side, living in fantasy land, rose-colored glasses on, not seeing clearly, cloudy, but it's very, very creative. It's very, very artistic as well. So, I mean, remember, each sign has got its pros and cons, or positive and negatives about it. But with Pisces, just remember, when you have so much Pisces energy, that can really have an effect with people not minding their own business. So make sure that's not you. So maybe, make sure you have healthy respectable boundaries with yourself, and with others. So respect other people's privacy and business, but also maintain healthy boundaries the other way around as well. Okay, I'll talk a little bit more about that later. This week, there's going to be a couple things going on. So we're going to be Uranus dominant, which means we're going to be boxed in by Uranus on both ends of the week. So Monday, like I said, we have that Sun-Uranus square, which that's a hard one. That's harsh. That's unexpected events going on. Normally, this would be in a negative way in any way, shape, or form, right? And then we're going to have a Uranus aspect in the end of this week. Actually, we have a couple, right? So Uranian energy is very, very there. So that's unexpected plan changes, altering plans, just out of the blue things, chaos, chaotic energy, those types of things. But the one thing when I want to talk about this is Uranus is sitting at about that 27-degree mark of Taurus. And so the one thing I wanted to talk to you about was our star death and wealth star called Algol. And Algol sits at about that 25 degrees Taurus. So that means they're within 2 degrees of each other and they're conjuncting. So what's the big deal? Well, Uranus is chaotic, it's unexpected, it's freedom loving, it's revolutionary energy, it's unpredictable. And Algol is known as the demon star. It's the death and wealth star. And it's the head of the Medusa, meaning it indicates a death of something. So that's not always physical, but it can be more figurative. So that's unexpected deaths of, it can be people, positions, status, titles, like for example, leaders, those types of things. And also it can be unexpected wealth, right? It's the demon star is also known as where it can be if someone has that, in a very, very highlighted or accentuated place in their birth chart, it can mean just kind of like a constant battle of having to deal with things that are very difficult. But as long as you maintain high vibration, you always come out a pretty good winner, or an outturn is good, but it takes time, it takes patience, right? That's more of a rarity, but it can happen. The other thing it's linked with is alcoholism, and bad teeth. So again, we are having Pisces energy coming in hard and strong here this week. So that's addiction-oriented energy, especially if it's challenged with, oppositions or squares or those types of things. And then we have the Algol star, the wealth and death star, but that's linked with alcoholism as well. So, and often it can be linked with alcoholism with rotten teeth, bad teeth, dentures, upper teeth, lower teeth, anything to do with dentures, oral, teeth, mouth, anything to do with that. So it can link to that as well. But it can be unexpected death of position, status, titles, or unexpected death of, it can include physical death, unfortunately, but that's kind of what it's known for. Or unexpected wealth. So there's something else I do want to point out. This is more of on a rarer level too. So just remember, just because it's squares, because people really get bent out of shape when you get talking about the hard major aspects, which would be opposition, squares, those types of things. And they are, don't get me wrong. But, often it's not often, on a rarity, it can play out quite beneficial. Why would I say that? I say that because, when you're doing the right thing, you're living in high vibration, often what can happen, it can play out as beneficial, meaning the unexpected squares or the unexpected news or the unexpected events that show up can show up as right versus wrong. The truth arises. Uranus is known for truths, as is Jupiter, right? So an unexpected truth that boils out that, provides the information or the news that right versus wrong. So-and-so was right, other person was wrong. Good versus bad. Truth versus falsehood. Those kind of things. Good versus evil, those kind of things, right? And so that again would depend on what you have going on in life on a personal level, right? That's a different story for everybody. It will not play out this way for probably most people, but it's a possibility. So when you have that, and usually if it's a truth versus falsehood, or good versus bad, or right versus wrong, good versus evil, there's going to be two parties involved. One party's going to come out the winner, one party's not. That usually does not go over well, especially in a week like this. So should that be the case, you could probably expect unexpected retaliation, unexpected things. And so this here, you could expect a lot of, I'm talking, this can be personal, of course, but it's personal to global. You're on the planet you count, you're not excluded. So that would mean unexpected truths coming out, like unpredictable. Like, I just didn't see that coming, or I can't believe that. It gets just out of left field and the truth arises. And I'm sure we're going to see some of this on a global scale when it comes to global politics and politicians and leaders, etc. Right? So it's a bumpy start for this week. It's going to be very bumpy through the whole eclipse season. So this can really bring on huge shifts and huge changes, okay? And I'm sure we're going to see that. Okay, so I just wanted to touch base a little bit with the Algol, the Death and Wealth Star, the head of the Medusa. Okay, and the other big thing is Saturn and conjunct Neptune. And again, so I touched a little bit about that. So that can play out in a few ways. So Neptune, as a rule of thumb, erodes away. It dissolves away. And so when we're talking about Saturn conjunct Neptune, conjunctions can run either way, positive or negative. So on a positive note, that could be, Saturn manifesting into physical form, a hope, a dream, a wish, those kind of things, right? Or anything spiritual, like jumping, quantum leaping in spiritual belief systems, and maybe entering into a time zone where you're entering into higher than 3D or three-dimensional living, seeing, whatever, like a divine connection to the universe or God or your higher power. On a negative, that can be where it's dissolving away the head of the state. That's a very good example. Getting rid of, eroding away positions, titles, status of, global politicians, leaders of countries. And again, Algol, the Death and Wealth Star, and Uranus can be playing a part in that too. It's very, very, very high impact. And, when we have Aries involved, that can be angry, that can be aggression, that can be violence, that can be war. And so Saturn is the tester of structures. Saturn is known as the Lord of Karma. Neptune is known as the Lord of the Sea. And we could also see, for an example, this can go many different ways, but you could see restrictions with ship travel or cargo travel on seas or rivers or waters. Problems with those kind of things. And so Saturn usually restricts, it puts limits. It's usually the representative of leaders, bosses, those like head of state, those kind of things. And Neptune is all about water, any waterways, water bodies, but it simply dissolves away things, right? And it's also about perspective. It's about views. And, we could be having unexpected truths that come out this particular week where it changes your opinions, it changes your views, right? And again, Neptunian energy, it's foggy, it's unclear. It's, again, that can hover around addiction problems too. So we could also be seeing truths coming out about pharmaceutical companies, pharmaceutical drugs, however that plays out, but that's something else that can come up too. And Saturn is the tester of structures, and it is about long-term things. And it takes physical time very seriously. And when we're into the baby of the zodiac Aries sign, that's liftoff, that's starting new things, or beginning new areas. And again, when we have Neptunian energy, that can also be about dissolving or erasing borders on land. Okay, eroding, erasing away, and making new ones. So that's possible too. So that could be, global leaders, and we're restructuring what used to be a state, which used to be a province, and we're going to be in the process of restructuring that differently, right? It's been this way for 150 years or whatever, and now it's changed. So, and that's quite interesting because Saturn is known as the taskmaster planet, as well as the Lord of Karma, and it's also it holds responsible. It holds accountable. And Neptunian is about illusions, delusions. It's about the con man, the con artist, right? It holds accountable. And Saturn is also known as what would be called the malefic planet. It gets a serious planet about serious content, and it means business. When you're mixing those two, they're almost like polar opposites. Like Saturn is very serious, it's very, very responsible. Neptune is like living in fantasy land, drifting off in the dream world, not paying attention, and they're colliding, right? And so when I say colliding, they're conjuncting. They're on top of each other. They're holding hands. They're charging each other. So each planet has a certain meaning. Each zodiac sign has a certain meaning. When you mix those two together in that charged connection, there's lots of things that can play out. But anyway, that is going to be a very highlighted energy this week as well. Okay. Now, we do have quite a few challenged like I said, we're boxed in by Uranus square energy all week long. But we do have some Venus conjunct North Node. So that is that can be good or bad. So that's going to be kind of rewriting, or it could be liftoff, or the ending of something to do moving forward. So when we talk about Venus, that could be the start of a new relationship, or that could be the death of an old relationship. That can have to do with money, finances, art, beauty. And this can have to do with health too, right? I like to throw health into the Venus because health, in my opinion, is a very fine thing. Venus is all about the fine things in life. And without your health, you have nothing. So that can be very, very health oriented. And remember, we're still in the health axis. We do have, that's the second conjunction. We do have a couple one trine. Yeah. And that is going to be on the 22nd. And so this is quite nice. So we have a Venus trine Jupiter, which is quite nice. So again, that's, all about how you make money, love, beauty, relationships, partnerships, health again. Money, finances, and it's going to have some really, really good mojo to do with growth and expansion. And so that can be also long distance travel, human resources area, spirituality, religion, philosophy, those types of things. And so that's always it's lots that can be done there in that particular combination. And remember, Jupiter is the benefic planet. That likes to help you grow. It likes to help you gain things, gain momentum, grow in life, expand in life. And again, that can also include finding solutions. So solutions or resolutions or fixes falling into place. That can include international connections, or like I said, long distance travel, writing and publishing as well. And again, anything through church, spirituality, religion, philosophy. And again, this is also the house of truths, right? It's Jupiter ruled. So when we have Uranus involved in very, very high aspect, as well as Jupiter this week with the Neptune Saturn conjunction, along with eclipse season, I think we might be surprised at what comes into light as truths, or what gets lit up, or what gets leaked out, or what whistleblower has things to say about certain things. And that will be global level. Okay. Again, that's just kind of a good luck combination there. So we will be having quite a bit of communication coming in. We don't have an overly active Mercury, but we have a very active Uranus. And so with those two together, that's going to give lots of communication coming in, lots of communication going out, lots of news, information arising. And it's going to be a little hard to keep up because it's beyond crazy this week for busyness that way. And I say that because Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury, which does correspond to communication and air travel, okay? And so when we have, something else I want to mention, when we have that Uranus square, that can also involve problems with travel with planes. So that, unfortunately, that could be a possibility of aircraft problems, aircraft crashes, right? And like Uranus is known as the sky god, right? When it's mixing with the square, that's a problem. So, or, can be tech problems with aircrafts, technology, anything with aircraft, that's going to be problematic. That can include air crashes. Okay. I think I've covered everything on that page. Yeah, okay. So we are going to move on to our area of topics. How am I doing for time? Half an hour. Okay. So, again, so we do have a lot of fire starter energy. So we're starting to move into having some planets into Aries full time. And so we're going to start feeling, along with that Piscean, watery, emotional, intuitive energy. It's compassionate, but it's also got rose-colored glasses. It's cloudy. It's got, on the negative side, problems with addictions, those types of things. But it's mixing with fire. Fire and water really don't mix all that well. But we're going to have some liftoff, some energizing energy. Remember, Aries is the baby of the zodiac. It's the first zodiac of the sign. And when the sun moves into Aries, just remember that is considered the new year of the astrology calendar, right? So that would be equivalent to January 1st in our regular calendar. So that's always exciting. It's new, it's liftoff, it's the new season that starts with the spring. Aries is always that pioneering energy. It's got lots of get up and go. It's very, very energized. And on a good thing, that can also make our body and our minds feeling more energized. Like we have more energy to do things. We're thinking better. We're thinking clearer. Leaving, the sun in Pisces, that can be a very clouded, very tired mind. And so when we're in Aries, again, it tends to be impulsive. It's very, very courageous. It's daring. It's bold, right? It's headstrong. It likes to be independent, right? And it tends to have leadership qualities, and it's adventurous, it's enthusiastic, it's got high vitality, right? The one thing we do have to be a little careful on is it does not like supervision, right? It likes to do its own thing, and it can be belligerent, it can be violent, it can be selfish, and it can be hasty, and it can be quick-tempered, okay? So that's something and domineering, right? So that's something we want to be a little aware of, and we want to stay away from that. So it's quite competitive as well, too, right? And egotistic can be a problem, and impatience and patience can go with Aries, right? But it's a very nice go-getter sign. It's good at liftoff. It can take the leadership role. It's very, very good at those things, taking charge of whatever, right? Starting new business, starting new projects, starting new ideas. It's good there. That suits it. All right. So there's the Aries coming in. And again, so we talked about Pisces. I'm going to talk a little bit more about it. But again, it's an emotional sign. It's highly, highly intuitive. It's very empathetic. It's compassionate. It's sympathetic. And it does like to hover around the spirituality world in any way, shape, or form. So that can be religion, that can be esoteric, that can be occult, whatever, or mystical study, mysticism, those type of things. It can take in any of that, whatever you're interested in. Something I do want to mention about that, it's also a mutable sign. And so mutable means it's here, it's there, it's all over the place. It's scattered energy. It's over here, it's over there. It's got 10 different things on the go. So one thing you do want to be careful when we do move into that stellium energy of Pisces is not taking on too much, because when you take on too much, you can have about 30 projects on the go or 30 different directions, and you get absolutely nothing done, which can be disappointing, it can be upsetting. It can also be quite expensive, okay? And it tends to have no boundaries. When I say no boundaries, I mean it can't mind its own business. Water is liquid. It seeps under doors. It seeps into walls. It seeps into places it's not supposed to be, and that does include other people's business. So do maintain healthy, respectful boundaries with others and others with yourself, okay? Again, addictions, it's fantasy land. It can be the great escapist. It can escapism, avoid, evade, ignore things that are supposed to be dealt with. It can be quite good at that on the negative side, right? And it can be very, very spaced out or very, very disconnected is another negative side of Pisces. But on the positive, it's exceptionally creative, very, very inspired. It's very musical, again, super artistic. And the other thing you want to be careful with Pisces is deceit and deception, because it's the master of deception and delusions, right? Again, addictions. And the other thing that can be a problem is it can be very indecisive. It's kind of got that wishy-washy energy. It's back and forth, okay? And the other bad thing, it can be very, very people-pleasing, and that usually is not a good thing for anybody, right? Okay, so another thing is we are going to be having a touch of Taurus energy. So that can be linking to Mother Earth, those kind of things. It's very, very good at manifesting things into physical form. Again, it's very artistic, right? It likes to be in the garden. It likes to plant. It likes the dirt. Okay. And it's very, very sensual. It's very practical, loyal, and dependable, right? It tends to be fertile. It's very, very resourceful too. So, and the one thing you want to be careful with Taurus is being overly sensual, right? Possessive, overindulgent, stubborn, and slow moving. That's a couple things. Or very, very materialistic. That can be a problem as well. Okay. And, Taurus is a lover of the land, lover of houses, gardening, the tangible, tactile things, money, resources, finances. So we're going to be looking at a little bit of that as well. And it can take in the house, the home, the family and behind closed doors, relationships behind closed doors in a house or a home or a family, okay? That can also include, and why am I saying this? Because we'll talk about Cancer. Jupiter's in Cancer, but we also, the moon with the nodal eclipse also involves a moon. So I want to include that too, because that can be anything to do with genealogy, family trees, genetic testing, genetic genealogy, any of those kind of things. Again, about your house, your home, your real estate, could even include a realtor, those kind of things. And it's very, very sensitive. It's nurturing, right? It tends to be very traditional as well, compassionate, intuitive, right? And the one thing you want to be very careful is brooding and being very negative, moody, manipulative is also another problem. that can be, or very withdrawn or avoiding. Okay, so those, but as a rule of thumb, Cancer, I like to say, is that sign of the basic necessities in life: the home, the house, the home, the shelter, the food, the water, right? That's a Cancer to the core, the basic human needs of each and every day. Okay. All right. And we do have a little bit of Aquarius energy, and that's kind of like think outside the box for solutions. I'm not going to say a whole bunch about that right now. So I'm going to move into the topics of content that will be this week. And so again, this will take, and I'm just going to read kind of general, because there's so much going on, and I tend not to do it just by aspect wise, because it kind of pertains a little bit different to everybody, and I like to include a little more for house topic or content and what's going to be going on this week. So we are going to have work and jobs, business is going to be highlighted, career management, dads, father figures, or authority figures or leaders. So this is where it would come up as head of the state or leaders, political leaders with powerful positions, okay? And it also involves discipline, responsibility, accountability, and strategy for plans, okay? So the 10th house is Capricorn and Saturn ruled. And so it's accountability, and it's about public reputation. And I think there's going to be some weird things that come out about people's public reputation as global leaders, right? This tends to be about physical time, anything that's to do with long-term structures, right? And we're going to take in the 12th house. That's ruled by Pisces. So this is behind the scenes, things going on behind the scenes that no one sees. It's hidden or secret. So this can be about rest and retreat time. This is also about dream time, dream state. So that can be remote viewing, that can be teleportation, that can be astral dreaming, or lucid dreaming, right? And so if you are a dreamer or you're just starting to remember your dreams, do keep a dream journal, jot it down. This is about the subconscious mind. It's also a psychology house. It's a water house. Anytime we have a water house involved, it means you can't see below the surface. It's hidden, it's black, it's dark, it's blacked out, it's darked out. That would be like looking across the surface of a lake. You can see everything on top, but you can't see a damn thing below because it's all hidden, okay? So that's what water houses are about. There's 3 water houses in the zodiac sign. Or so zodiac wheel rather. So that's house 4, 8, and 12. And so the 12th house is also about karma, past lives, and generational karma. Okay, so that is something that probably is going to, show topics of interest, or maybe looking back or thinking about it. Again, it's the house of private. Wanting your own privacy, solitude time, that can be for whatever reason, right? Rest, retreat, recharge, rejuvenation, whatever. But it's also the house of evading, ignoring, escapism, and ignoring things that need to be tended to, but they're putting on the brakes or turning a blind eye. This can also be the house about confinement. So when I say confinement, that can be prison, jails, hospitals, orphanages, and this is also the house of isolation or feeling stuck. So when I say isolation, that can be, say, for example, isolated in a relationship because you're being isolated away from your family and friends is a good example. That won't be for everybody, but you'll know what I'm talking about when I say that. And so you can be isolating yourself away because you're writing music, you're writing song, you're writing poetry, you're writing a book. That is isolation, but that's done by your own person, your own self, for a positive result. This is the house of esoteric, spirituality, occult, mystical study, mysticism, Akashic records, right? And again, our own inner psychology work, subconscious mind areas. It's a very, very deep house, but it's a huge house full of lots of stuff. It's also artistic, and very, very creative, inspired. Okay. Again, this can be the house of fears and addictions. So that's very, very highlighted this week, is the fears and addictions that can be a problem. Okay, and again, healthy and unhealthy escapism. So that, like I said, isolating for rest, retreat time, that's healthy escapism. Unhealthy escapism would be drugs, alcohol, any sort of prescription abuse, that kind of thing. And again, the biggest one in this house, which can play a large role in our lives, is redefining you and yourself from the ground up. So what do I mean by that? For example, if you're going through a divorce, that is redefining you as an individual. You are no longer married. You become single status. That's completely different. You're dividing up, finances and assets, and you might have something in the end, you might not. But that's where you're starting all over from the ground up, rebuilding yourself. That is a very common thing that happens with the 12th house when it's highlighted. So we are going to have inventions, innovation. This can do with friends, friend circles, dating, acquaintances. That can be a technology house, an innovation house, air travel house. We're talking about the 11th house. That's ruled by Aquarius, right? And we are having that Aquarius eclipse. And so this is the social media, internet-based projects or internet-based ideas. It can be internet-based stores or sales too as well. Groups, committees, large organizations, humanitarian efforts. So that the 11th house tends to be about, a group, doing things for humanitarian needs or requirements, right? It's those groups doing something for somebody else across the world. And this is about like minds, like groups and associations and committees. This house, yes, it does include politics. And so this is always interesting what shows up here in the world or political world, either where you're living or on a global scale. So we can really sit back. If we have nothing going on in your personal life this week, I'd be very surprised at that. But if that's the case, good for you. And we can sit and we can watch all this crazy energy playing out in the global scale, because it is crazy and it is all over the place, and it's going to be probably history making, to say the least. And it's going to be just unorthodox, unconventional, weird things coming up, finding out things that you just never thought in a million years would happen. And it's just, like I said, it's very unstable and it's very unpredictable. And so this can also cause problems with internet. So internet connections, internet outages, problems with banking, broken or disconnected terminals for MasterCards or Visas or, purchases, anything to do with internet problems, being disconnected or just being crazy behavior. We can see that too. But this can also include digital currency, innovation. But this is also a really cool house from Pennies from Heaven, or it can be the hopes and wishes, dreams come true house as well. So that's always kind of cool. So again, there's positive and there's negative to every sign, every planet, every house. And so our 5th house is very lit up because we have an active sun. So this is going to be about children, grandchildren, pleasure, joy, creative expression. And when I say creative expression, that can be anything. That could be poetry. That could be you're a seamstress, you're a quilter, you're a writer, publisher, whatever. It can be anything with creative expression. Hobbies, creative projects, hobbies, I just said that, and having fun, and that can include gambling, right? Finding things that give you pleasure in life, finding joyous things, having fun. If you're one of those who are the workaholic, this can lead you to having some fun and some pleasurable time, which I think is needed and required for everybody. So this can include hidden talents too, right? Talents, hidden ones that maybe you didn't even know you had, but other people, I didn't know you could do that, or I didn't know you were good at that. And so that can show up here too. This is also the house of leadership. And so that is very highlighted. Not only is Saturn active, but that is an active thing in house 5 too. Leadership, taking the reins of leadership or taking on a leadership role. This is also being seen on a more public scale. So it might be seen on a more public scale for various reasons, and leadership could be a possibility. And this is also the house of romance, falling in love, and about sex. It's about what brings you joy and what you like to have fun with. And so this is also the good luck house, and it's also the bucket list. So the cool thing is we have both good luck houses lit up. So that's house 5 and house 11. So that can bring in some pretty good things. Even though we kind of have a wacky week, it can be crazy good too, right? It's not all like crazy out of this world negative. It can be really quite auspicious, but that'll tend to be in a little bit of a narrower field. Sorry. And so anytime we have the moon active, which we do because we're having a solar eclipse, so this will light up the 4th house. And so this, again, like I said before, is a water house. It's a house of darkness. It's a house of hidden, and it's a house of emotions, right? So the 12th house, which I just mentioned a little while, that's a water house. That's about emotions. House 4 is very emotional. It's about our inner world. It's about home, housing, anything within a house or going on in behind closed doors, moves, sales, purchases, occupants. It might even be renters or, buying a house, doing repairs or additions, and anything to do with family, okay? Ancestry, genealogy, and our childhood psychology, going back to our childhood days, right? Our roots. Mother. So moon is always linked with mom, mother, and our emotional needs, right? House and home, those kind of areas. And this can include genetics, genetic testing, genetic genealogy or family trees. That's very common in this area as well. Subconscious. And again, it's psychology, and it's a hidden, unseen realm. And this can also refer to old age and, ancestry too. I want to throw in there, right? All right. This can also hover around our finances and our money, how we make money, where our work is, how we provide for ourselves, our jobs. This can also include our self-worth, our values, value structures, and our foundations on our values are based upon. So this can include budgeting, major purchasing, our income, where we make money, how we make money, and maybe we might be looking at a savings or a savings plan or putting money into making a savings. Okay, this can include earth and environment, Mother Earth, right? Building, security, those kind of things. And again, this really hovers around our values and our inner values. This is also known as the money possession house. That's the second house. And so assets, valuables, possessions, those kind of thing. And so it's very, very 3D, very material, very hands-on, with the exception of our values and value systems. And I really kind of think that the values, value systems, and our value structures are really going to be getting a working over in the next month or so. Just with everything going on. And so we will also include the third house that is ruled by Mercury. We have a fairly busy Mercury, not as busy as some other planets this week, but that will include communications. Communications, big time. And so that's with everybody but the kids and the parents, right? It's relatives, it's cousins, it's aunts and uncles, it's our neighbors, our friends, people we're close with. Could be the neighbor down the street, neighbor down the hall. But this is also about communication devices. So interpersonal devices, meaning, computers, iPhones, iPads, iPods. This can include social media and internet. That is highlighted twice over because that is part of the 11th house as well. So that's very highlighted. So we can be seeing things going on with social media platforms, or things going on, or maybe new ones coming online, or maybe you're presenting or having a creative expression or a project that's going to go onto a social media platform, or you might just be listening to more social media platforms, or having to do with things on the internet. So this also includes short distance travel, transportation, and mobility. So modes of mobility. So that could be physical modes. That could be actually be running shoes, walking, running, wheelchairs, scooters, motorbikes, quads, side-by-sides, vehicles, anything to do with transportation. This is also known as the siblings house. So you might be having contact or talking with siblings. This also includes writing and editing, right? The other thing, I will put a warning out, and do not, for any way, shape, or form, if you can help it, do not gossip this week. Even if you know black from white, fact from fiction, don't spread it, because this is a bumpy, it's a rocky week, and it's an unhinged week. It's like if you happen to say something the wrong way to the wrong person, they could just go kind of ballistic on you. So just keep it to yourself, and do no fact from fiction. And even if you do, don't share. That is just a warning I would put out there. And this is also lights up the sixth house. And the sixth house is another karma house, and it's the house of Virgo, and it's known as a health house. So houses 1, 6, and 8 are known as our health houses, right? So this is a health focus, health and healing, wellness. And this could be daily routine. So whether that's, work daily routines, what you do in the morning or all through your day, or daily routine exercise, food, diet, those kind of things. It's definitely a health focus. And so this is also on systems, organization, finding systems that work, doing your work or work that is important to you. Details are very important. They are the essence. That's a Virgo thing. Everything in its place. And you won't get a better organized person than a high vibrational Virgo. And so this can include pets, right? Service to the world. This can include employers-employee contact, daily routines, and mentorship. Mentorship, you might be mentoring someone might be mentoring you. But the biggest thing is doing things or work that's important to you, right? And the kind of the downside of the Virgo, the sixth house, can be a little bit of bad luck, slavery, or feeling enslaved. So enslavement or feeling in slavery, for example, this is two different examples. So one would be You're feeling enslaved to a job that you hate, but you have to be there because you're enslaved for the paycheck because you owe big debt. You have loan payments to make, right? So your debt load keeps you enslaved to that job. Another example would be feeling enslaved or enslavement to a relationship. That's another good example, okay? So it's a negative value, but a good example. And so we do have the house number 1 lit up. So that can be about the physical body. This is also about the head, the brain, anything on the outside of the head, anything on the inside of the head. The head is always in the first house, ruled by Aries. So that can be headaches. That can be depression too. Anything to do with the mind. Eyes, ears, brain, sinus cavities, anything, in the mouth, teeth, anything from the neck up, inside or out. Okay, and image. So that could be, working on your skin, being presentable for a facial image or a new haircut or managing your hair. But really, this is about the physical body. So when I see this lit up like this, that can be your physical body, looking after how your body looks, building up your muscles, getting a new exercise routine or getting into shape, better food choices, those kind of things. Again, house 1 is a health house. Again, house 1, 6, and 8 are our health houses, right? And so health is going to be a very, very high focal point this week. And this can be about your appearance and how you're recognized, right? And so when you have the house 1, that's about your viewpoint, your opinions, your views, and how you take on each and every day as a person, as an individual. All right. And something else that's going to be very lit, because we do have a fairly active Venus too, is the 7th house. So that's relationships, that's partnerships. It's also an air house. And again, we have all the air houses lit up, so that can really represent air travel. To and from vacation, holidays, talking about it, booking it, maybe thinking about booking it, or actually doing flights. That was something. And with this kind of week, you can expect, problems or delays or flight cancellations, because we do have that Uranus square, and that can create a lot of havoc with air travel. But that is very highlighted. So, and again, this can be partnerships, relationships, practitioners. You might be looking for a practitioner, or you might be a practitioner yourself, looking for helpers, or someone might be looking for helpers. You might even be the helper. Aesthetics, art and design, agreements, contracts, and this can have to do with clients, customers, customer relations, public relations, or customer service, okay? And this really hovers again around the relationship with self. Finding that balance in with self. And remember, when we upgrade our relationship with self, automatically then our values change and our relationships with others also gets much, much better. It improves greatly, okay? And again, air house, not only is it travel, but it can be communication. So like, again, I said we have all the air houses lit up, which can be ultra high in communication outgoing, out and communication incoming. We do have the 9th house lit up as well. So that can be about solutions, resolutions, finding fixes, about foreign cultures, international connections, teaching. You might be a teacher, or you might be learning and being taught something, right? And that's about, courses, education, those kind of things, expanding your horizons in life. And long distance travel is also involved here as well. Writing and publishing. So we have writing and editing lit up. This is writing and publishing. So that's very highlighted, this area as well. Speaking. So you might be doing a speak. You might be speaking. You might be the one teaching who is the speaker in the classroom. And again, that can be online, right? This can be church, religion, spirituality, philosophy, again, long distance trips. And this can really hover around ethics or the topics of ethics. And this can include in-laws, okay? International travel, communications, and cultures. This can be foreign cultures or foreign affairs. And again, this can be about truths, a law, legal matters, or legal court cases, I guess, if you want to talk about, yeah. And so again, there's lots of truth that's going to be coming out this weekend that can be impacting legal matters or legal cases. All right, and this is also a house of good luck and good fortune. So yay and double yay. So we can use more of that. Again, this is really bumpy, but it doesn't have to be bumpy negative, but it does have a lot of challenging aspects and a lot of things going on, but it's not always that way. I remember a conjunction, we have 2 of those. Those can go either way, positive or negative, but we do have some, like I said, some hard squares and some really, really just annoying, troublesome aspects. But those are those mild negative aspects that just create havoc on a daily basis. Things changing, things not working out, having to go from plan A, B to C to D finally before something works out. So roll with what works. Just set aside what doesn't, because that can really save a lot of frustration. Is don't fight with something that's not working. Move on to something that is more flowing and it's going to work, right? So have, multiple plans in line this week, because that will certainly make things much, much better. Okay, so now we are going to skip over to the health and anatomy. Okay. Oh, let's see. We are going to jump into, okay, just reading out my notes here. Okay, so this is going to include the head, the face, the brain, the upper teeth. This will also include the lower teeth, okay? This will include the feet and the ankles. This will also include blood testing, types of blood quality, immune system, lymphatic system, toxicity. Usually it's toxic water, but that can be toxic fluid, toxic water within the body, viruses, thymus gland, and this can include water retention or abnormal swelling, okay? That's a Pisces thing. We're going to be going into that a little more into the stellium by the end of the week, and so you can expect those kind of things to show up. This can be oversensitivity and overdose energy as well, and this can really highlight around addictions, even though addictions isn't like a health and anatomy, but it can be, because we're talking about health and anatomy. And so that is something that's involved in there. So again, abnormal swelling and abnormal water retention. But here's the thing. After our Pisces season passes and after that stellium starts to dwindle down to where it's going to start going away, if you're encountering or experiencing abnormal swelling or abnormal water retention or retention in the lymphatic system, it will pass. It will get better. And do remember, we are still in that health axis. We are working our way towards the end of the health axis, so things will start to improve the more time goes on. Okay. And so this will include the throat, the neck, the ears, the vocal cords, the thyroid gland, the tongue, the mouth, the tonsils, and the lower teeth. So upper and lower teeth. And again, I did mention that when we were talking about algal, because that technically refers to bad teeth for various reasons, but it certainly can be alcohol tied, like rotten teeth from alcohol or whatever. Or, it could be if you were in a car accident or something. Due to alcoholism or impaired driving, you could end up smashing your teeth out like on the steering wheel or something stupid like that. Okay, and so, again, the breast, the stomach, the upper lobes of the liver, that can be included as well. And I think I'm missing something here. Just give me a second. This can include the ankles, the Achilles tendon. This can include the electricity in the body and our electrical system in the body, okay? That's to do with nerve cells. All right. All right, and here's the rest of them. I knew I stuck them somewhere. All right. Again, the higher nervous system, okay? And so, again, that is talking about Uranus. So that's about the feet, the ankles, the Achilles tendon, the higher nervous system, the body electricity. And this is like where the weird, crazy stuff comes in, okay? That is Uranus. And so we will be seeing the thing to do with spinal column, nerves, nerve fibers, the feet, pineal gland, telepathic functions. Again, that's very mystical, and that's universal or God or cosmic connection out there, right? White blood cells. Okay, so that can be any sort of white blood cell testing or quality of your white blood cell, something going on there, maybe not. Viruses, thymus gland. This can include mental illness, that can include depression, and this can also include denial, right? And kinesthetic function. So kinesthetic function, that would be like going to physiotherapy and rinse, repeat until you get something that's working properly, functioning properly, or that muscle building up properly where it's back to normal function. Okay, Saturn is active. That's that Neptune-Saturn conjunction. That's why this plays its role. So this is, again, to do with the skin. Skeletal system, Bones in the body, any bone in the body, your teeth, upper, lower, that's very highlighted here. So some of you might be getting teeth work or dental work done, or dentures, those kind of things. Ligaments, knees, left ear, auditory organs. So that's anything to do with the hearing or auditory organs in the ears or inside of the head. Gallbladder, parathyroid gland, body protein, and this includes tendons, okay? This can include heart, upper back, spleen, circulatory system, sperm, right eye of the male, left eye of the female. So really the eyes in general, and your general vitality and state of health. And I can really see that being very highlighted here, right? This particular week with the health and the health function, what you're focusing on, better diet, better exercise, getting in shape, and really wanting to be more energized, feeling more energetic, right? Okay, here's my moon. This is what I was looking for. So the moon is active. That's what that eclipse. So this is what I want to bring in. Not only the Cancer and the moon run hand in hand, but this is to do with the breast, the stomach, fluid balance, digestion, glandular secretions, left eye of the male, right of the female. So we know that both eyes, male and female, are definitely highlighted here. Something else, when we have... moon activity, solar eclipse, more so on full moon, is full fluid. Like, so that would be like swelling, right? So that's going to be on March 3rd. We'll probably experience that. All right. Again, this can be very, very emotional. This can also include... fluids in the body. Okay, yeah. So here's the thing. So this is the fluid in the body. So at full moon, the swelling in the body can really, really be accentuated. So excessive water retention, excessive swelling. So that's technically why we'd never want to have a surgery in a full moon, because it can be excessive swelling, excessive water retention, or excessive hemorrhaging or bleeding. But now, because we're coming into the new moon solar eclipse, that's a new moon. So this is where the fluid in the body tends to be the lowest, right? Fluids in the body are lowest at the new moon, highest at the full moon. I just wanted to point that out and share that. All right. This can also include, we have lots going on. So, I mean, not all this is going to apply to everybody, but some definitely there'll be a little bit of that will pertain to everybody. So just put it where it fits. So arterial blood circulation, liver, thighs, hips, ears, pancreas. And that will include the throat, the chin, the cheeks, the sense of taste, the kidneys, ovaries, internal reproductive organs. That will include the endocrine system with the hormones, male or female, any way, shape, or form. Blood circulation, and the skin or sensory organs of the skin. And last but not least, we're having Mercury. So again, that's going to be the brain, the sight, the mouth, the tongue, the nervous system, the respiratory system. That includes the lungs, the hands, the arms, the elbows, the thyroid gland, the mind, the thymus gland. So really a lot can hover around the mind, around mental illness or depression. And again, we do have that really, really high energized conjunction of Saturn, Neptune. And so Neptune can really be about depression, those kind of things. So that's something else can be highlighted. So it's really the Saturn conjunct Neptune that can be internal, that can be personal, that can be global, and that can really play out many, many different ways, right? So Saturn, our Lord of Karma, is right on top, charging the Lord of the Sea, Neptune. And remember, Neptune is about illusions, delusions. It's about deception, things that are not how they're looking. And basically Saturn's grabbing it by the ear and saying, let's go back and let's have a look and let's have some accountability, some responsibility, and there's going to be some truths coming out. So this is really, really big. And so this is really, really cool. So if you're feeling ultra inspired for new ideas, new projects, new job skill, new career, new job in line, this is perfect for that. So Saturn would be essentially taking responsibility and stepping into that new cycle, that new beginning of whatever you've crafted in your mind as being inspired, artistic, creative, anything like that. So, or that can even go into spirituality, right? You might be, wanting to learn a new religion or philosophy or anything mystical study. So again, each planet has got so many different things going on with it. It's not just one meaning; it's more than one meaning, right? So it's quite a combination. It's a very cool combination. And something else we can be seeing out here is Neptune And it rules Pisces. Yeah, it rules Pisces. We can be seeing things coming out as truths with pharmaceutical prescription drugs, pharmaceutical companies, those kind of things. It can shed, water areas, shipping, shipping channels like seas, oceans, rivers for supplies, traveling upon the rivers, river travel, water travel, anything to do with seas, those kind of things too. And really, because it's in Aries, you could be looking at flooding, any sort of water storms, high water storms, high sea storms, anything like that. And something else I do want to mention too is when we have Pisces energy and it's coming in stellium towards the end of the week, that means stellium more than 3 planets in one sign, which again, Pisces is water. So I would do caution if you are leaving on vacation or holidays, shut your water off at the valve, because it's a high time for flooding indoors, water lines breaking in walls, leaky toilets, leaky dishwashers, that leaky sink under the bathroom sink, whatever. It's leaks and flooding everywhere and anywhere. Could be in the basement, could be in the bathroom. This can include water main breaks in cities or towns or villages. Take it as it lands. This can also be global flooding. So water problems as a whole. So do take every precaution. Do make sure your house insurance is paid in full and you have water or flood coverage. And that includes sewage backup, okay? So anyway, with that being said, I've been talking way long enough, and so I think we'll sign off for now. So just remember, it's bumpy, and everything that can happen will happen. But it's not always on the negatives week. We can have quite a bit of positive stuff, but it's going to be kind of chaotic, and it's going to be unexpected events and things just popping up right, left, and center. So hopefully we get some good things that come out of this. We do have some good positive aspects. We have definitely more negative aspects and positive ones, but you know what? Hey, we can work with it. It's not the first time, won't be the last time, and we just roll with everything as best we can. Okay, so until we talk again, stay happy, stay healthy, take care of yourself, and take care of each other. Bye for now.